A nation on lockdown. Get all the unlocked updates around the coronavirus. Visit power987.co.za and follow us on Twitter at PowerFM987.
The Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria have raised concerns over the instances of deaths and other human rights violations due to the use of excessive force by law enforcement, particularly in this lockdown period. The center says that these incidences are not isolated but are linked to inequalities based on race. They have called for urgent law reform to address these issues. Let's now speak to the manager of the Democracy and Civic Engagement Unit at the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. Bonolo Makgale joins us on the line. Good afternoon to you and thank you so much for your time. And it's interesting that this statements that you have put out comes at a time when it coincides with the Minister of Police, Bekele, actually pushing back against criticism of the police, saying that he disagrees that there is this with the ANC's, his own party's campaign of anti-police brutality.
Hi, Thabiso. Thank you so much for having us. Just to start off, I think we, as the Center for Human Rights, we are very concerned about what we're seeing happening in our society today. And just a historic reflection, I think it's important to note that historically, vulnerable and under-resourced communities in South Africa have had a difficult relationship with the police and security forces, right? And we see this relationship that continues to expose class, as you've mentioned. It continues to expose race inequalities in how most vulnerable communities experience the law. And I think it's what you just noted with what the minister has said. It's quite concerning to see the level of denialism that exists within our leaders. I mean, if you think about what had happened even during the xenophobic attacks, we'd constantly hear our ministers claiming that there's no xenophobia. And now we are seeing Police Minister Bekele denying that the police brutality. And you know what this says to me, TT, is that this level of denialism suggests that the state might not even find effective measures to curb this brutality or even seek solutions. I mean, if you are denying that there's a problem, it means you aren't going to think about ways in which you can resolve the problem, right?
Absolutely.
And secondly, this level of denialism, for me in particular, it fuels the impunity that we see in our society, and it continues to endanger our people.
Yeah.
If police officers have had what the minister said, they will continue to brutalize our people because their leader has said that there is no police brutality in our society. And I think our leaders are really failing to appreciate what's happening on the ground.
So I want to pick up on particularly on the angle that you found, that you saying that these are not that there's a link here between inequalities based on race. And I do wonder to what extent actually the brutality that we speak of, or these excesses on the part of the police, are more class-based, if I could say, rather than race, because I see most of the incidents of brutality and police using excessive force seemingly happening in poorer communities, in township communities. And of course, that means, because this being South Africa, poverty has a color, and that means that the victims will be mostly black. But I don't see black people being attacked in the suburbs, for example.
Yes, so this is the thing. So we see that disproportionate use of force to a particular group of people, and no one is denying that. And this particular group of people is often the vulnerable, right? So if you think about it, a black man is more likely to be brutalized than a white man. So that's a race issue. But beyond the race issue, an Alexandra resident, for example, is more likely to be brutalized than a Sandton resident. So it is a class issue, right? And so being black in South Africa places a person at a disproportionate risk, not only of being poor, but also of being at the receiving end of excessive violence from law enforcement officers. So because you are black and you are poor, you are seen as a threat and you are automatically criminally profiled. So I think there's a class issue here, like you said. A certain black person would not suffer brutality, but an Alexandra resident would. But also a black man is most likely to suffer police brutality than a white man. Right. Where have you seen cases in South Africa of a white man being brutally or assaulted by a police officer? Most reported, it's woman and it's black woman, and it's man and it's black man. So it's
absolutely
class and race.
But no, we're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we just run out of time on this one. But thank you so much for coming through. Manager of the Democracy and Civic Engagement Unit at the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. You certainly have got a conversation started for us. Thanks so much for talking.
Thank you for having me, Titi. Have a great day.
It's Bonolo Makgale.